Victor was 34 years old. He had spent his entire life inside his father's construction company, learning every system, every contract, every client. He built that business from the inside out. But his father gave it to someone else. Victor's father handed the company to his brother Derek at Victor's father's 60th birthday. So Victor quit overnight and built a rival empire that crushed them. This entire situation began when he was a child but truly burst about 2 years ago. To understand why everything went so well, you must first understand Victor's family's destructive dynamics. Victor's father, Thomas, was 62 years old and owned Thompson & Co., a medium-sized construction company. He started it from nothing in the 1980s. It grew to roughly 50 staff working on commercial and residential projects across 3 counties. Growing up, that corporation was practically Victor's family's religion. Every dinner conversation revolved around jobs, contracts, which teams were performing, and which suppliers were providing them with the best deals. Thompson & Co. was supposed to be handed over to Victor and his younger brother, Derek, a 29-year-old guy. Dad made this plan from the moment they could walk. "Someday you boys are going to take over this empire I built," their father, Thomas, would say, while staring at blueprints on their kitchen table. "Thompson & Co. is going to be your legacy." But here's where things went wrong. Victor's father, Thomas, decided Victor's younger brother, Derek, was the actual construction worker, and Victor was just a liability he would have to deal with. Derek was one of those kids who seemed to excel at every athletic activity. Derek was a star athlete in high school and could fix engines by the age of 14. He exuded an air of effortless assurance that drew others in. "Look at Derek," Thomas boasted to anyone who listened. "The kid got natural leadership, born for this business." Meanwhile, Victor was the one who was paying attention in class, learning about business management, cost estimation, and project management software certification. Victor would spend his summers working on his father's job sites. Instead of being applauded for grasping the technical aspect, Victor was reprimanded for not being hands-on enough. The tipping point came when Victor was 19 and suggested to his father to computerize the business processes. It was 2009, and Mr. Thomas was still doing everything on paper: estimates, scheduling, payroll, and inventory. It was a nightmare. Victor discovered a construction management software that could streamline everything, save money, and eliminate errors. Mr. Thomas' response was, "Real construction workers don't need computers, son. We build things with our hands, not by staring at screens all day." Victor's younger brother, Derek, who was 14 at the time and hardly knew which end of a hammer to handle, nodded along as if he understood anything about operating a business. "Yeah, Victor, construction is about getting dirty, not playing with gadgets." This became the theme of Victor's life. Every time Victor sought to implement modern business methods in the organization, he was told he was overthinking it or making everything too hard. Mr. Thomas once said to him, "College is fine, son, but this is the real world. You can't learn construction from a textbook." Derek, on the other hand, dropped out of community college after only 1 semester because he didn't enjoy it. Thomas wasn't mad at him. "Good for you, son. Real men learn by doing." Victor continued working for his father throughout college and beyond graduation, hoping that his father would ultimately see that he understood the business aspect better than anyone else. Victor overhauled their filing systems, established proper project costing methods, and even constructed a simple database to manage equipment upkeep, all without being asked and on his own time. But every family event, company barbecue, and supplier meeting had the same story. Derek was the golden boy who truly understood the building business, and Victor was the guy who was good at paperwork. Victor's younger brother, Derek, would arrive late to job sites, spend half the day on his phone, then depart early for whatever party or date he had arranged. Thomas would simply grin, "Boys will be boys." Victor would work 60-hour weeks, solve logistical issues, negotiate lower material costs, and get a shrug at best. When Derek turned 21, Mr. Thomas began discussing succession plans, but not to Victor. Victor found out about these chats after overhearing his mother conversing on the phone with her sister. Apparently, Mr. Thomas was already planning to delegate additional authority to Derek, despite the fact that Derek had never managed anything more sophisticated than a 7-man framing crew. Victor tried to talk to his father about it directly. This happened when Victor was 31 and had been in the company for more than a decade. Victor had just completed their largest commercial contract ever, a $2.3 million office complex that came in under budget and ahead of schedule. "Dad," Victor began during a break one day. I think we should talk about the future of the company. I've got ideas about expansion, maybe getting into some specialty niches. I've been researching. Mr. Thomas, shut him off. Victor, you do good work, don't get me wrong. But running this company takes a different kind of man than you are. Victor wasn't expecting it. What do you mean? He asked. Construction is a tough business. You need someone who can command respect from the crews. Someone who understands what it means to get his hands dirty. Derek's got that natural authority. Men follow him. Dad, I've been working on site since I was 16. I know every aspect of this business better than anybody. Knowing and leading are different things, he said. Son, Derek's got what it takes to be the boss. You're more of a support guy. There's nothing wrong with that. Every good leader needs someone to handle the details. That conversation tormented Victor for several months. Support guy. After everything Victor had done, all the changes he had made, and all the money he had saved the company, he was only the support man. But the real kick in the teeth came 2 years ago at his father's 60th birthday celebration. Thomas had reserved the back room at this steakhouse, inviting the entire extended family, crucial staff, and some of their most important clients. Victor assumed it was just a birthday celebration. He was mistaken. About halfway through supper, Mr. Thomas stood up and tapped his glass. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Turning 60 has got me thinking about the future, about legacy, about what kind of company I want to leave behind. Victor's stomach began churning. He could see where this was headed. Thompson & Co. has been my life's work, Mr. Thomas explained. But a man's got to know when it's time to pass the torch. That's why I'm proud to announce that Derek Harrington will be taking over as president of Thompson & Co., effective immediately. The audience gave a standing ovation. Derek sprang up, grinning like he'd won the lottery, and his father. His mother was shedding happy tears. Victor just sat there witnessing his entire future be handed to his younger brother in front of 40 people. Derek gave some statement about carrying on the Harrington legacy and moving the company into the future while maintaining traditional values. Derek couldn't tell the difference between gross margin and Victor up if his life depended on it, but everyone ate it up. After the crowd dissipated, Victor cornered his father in the parking lot. What the hell was that? Victor inquired. You didn't even discuss this with me. I've been working for this company for 15 years. Thomas sighed as if Victor were being ridiculous. Victor, I told you Derek's the right man for this job. He's got the personality for it, the leadership skills. Construction crews need someone they respect. Respect, Dad. Half our guys have been asking me for technical guidance since they started. You're good at the technical stuff. I've never said you weren't, but running a construction company isn't about spreadsheets and computers. It's about being tough, making hard decisions, and commanding respect. Victor laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. Natural authority Derek had never managed a budget over $50,000. Derek didn't know their insurance requirements. He had never dealt with permitting issues. He couldn't read a complex blueprint if you gave him a week. Thomas's face tightened. Son, I'm going to say this once. Derek is the future of this company because he's man enough to handle it. Some people are born leaders and some people are born followers. There's no shame in knowing which one you are. You've never been man enough to run this business, Victor. You're too soft, too academic, and too concerned with everyone's feelings. Derek's got the balls to make the tough calls. That's what it takes. Victor stood there in that parking lot, watching his father walk away from him as if Victor were just another disappointed employee rather than his son. That night, Victor took a life-changing decision. If he wasn't man enough to lead Thompson & Co., he would demonstrate his true masculinity by creating something greater. The following morning, Victor strolled into his father's office and resigned. You're making a mistake, son, Thomas stated, without looking up from his paperwork. Where are you going to go? You've never worked anywhere else. Victor didn't reply. Don't worry about me, Dad. I'll figure it out. Mr. Thomas had no idea, and neither did anyone else in Victor's family, that Victor had been silently preparing for this possibility for months. Throughout the evenings, Victor worked late at the office. He documented everything: client lists, supplier relationships, pricing strategies, and project procedures. He had been putting together a comprehensive picture of how Thompson & Co. operated, what their competitive advantages were, and more crucially, where their shortcomings were. Victor had also been networking. Construction is a relationship business, and over the course of 15 years, Victor developed strong relationships with subcontractors, suppliers, and even certain clients. People recognized Victor's work, valued his attention to detail, and believed his word. Victor's father always believed Derek's backslapping style was important, but the majority of their recurring business came from clients who knew Victor would personally oversee their projects. Within a week after resigning, Victor had submitted the paperwork to establish Summit Building Group Construction Solutions. Victor deliberately chose the name Summit Building Group, implying that they were the Summit Building Group of quality and professionalism, and Construction Solutions, indicating that they addressed problems rather than simply throwing muscle at them. Victor started small, using his savings to rent a small office space in a nearby business park, purchasing some basic equipment, and hiring 2 people he had worked with at Thompson & Co., who were fed up with Derek's nasty management style. Victor's first contract was for a small house remodeling around $15,000, which Victor could complete mostly by himself. But he had larger plans. One of Thompson & Co.'s most serious flaws was a lack of technological proficiency. Victor's father, insistence on doing things the old way made them extremely inefficient in comparison to what was achievable. Victor had spent years watching them lose money on projects due to bad scheduling, insufficient cost tracking, and communication breakdowns between the office and field team. Victor made significant investments in construction management software, project tracking systems, and mobile technologies for field teams. While Thompson & Co. still used paper timesheets and handwritten change orders, Victor's team had tablets that allowed them to examine blueprints, submit daily reports, manage material usage, and interact instantaneously with the office. The efficiency gains were amazing. Victor could quote tasks more correctly because he had real-time cost information. Better communication mechanisms enabled Victor to detect problems before they became costly disasters. Victor could schedule more efficiently since he knew exactly where his staff were and what they were working on. More crucially, Victor could demonstrate to clients just what they were paying for. While Thompson & Co. continued to make broad estimations based on their experience, Victor was able to provide specific breakdowns of how their money would be spent. Victor's second contract involved a $40,000 kitchen remodeling, followed by a $75,000 bathroom upgrade. Word spread about a new construction company that completed projects on schedule and within budget. Victor also focused on the commercial Victorette, which Thomas had always struggled with. Thomas excelled at domestic and small commercial works, but anything demanding intricate coordination or rigorous adherence to laws made him anxious. Victor positioned Summit Building Group as the organization capable of handling intricate projects such as medical facilities, educational buildings, and anything else that required specialist understanding. 6 months after launching Summit Building Group, Victor secured his first major commercial contract, a $400,000 refurbishment of a medical office building. It was the type of job that Thompson & Co. would struggle with. There were numerous regulatory standards, strict deadlines, and no tolerance for errors. Victor crushed it. He finished 2 weeks early, 8% under budget, and the customer was so pleased that they quickly hired Victor for their next location. During this time, Victor seldom spoke with his family. Victor's father would occasionally call to see when Victor would come to his senses and return to the family business. Victor's younger brother, Derek, never called. Derek was probably too busy playing CEO. Victor's mother would try to guilt Victor into attending family gatherings. "Your father misses you," Victor's mother would say. "This whole thing is just pride. You boys should work together." But Victor was no longer interested in working together. Victor wanted to prove a point. The breakthrough happened roughly 18 months after Victor started Summit Building Group. Victor had been developing relationships with general contractors who handled large commercial projects, portraying himself as a dependable subcontractor for specialized work. One of them approached Victor with a large project, a $2 million restoration of a business headquarters downtown. It was exactly the type of work Thompson & Co. had always desired but had never been qualified to do. Complex mechanical systems, high-end finishes, unrealistic deadlines, and a perfectionist client. Victor spent 3 weeks putting together his bid, which included cost estimates down to the cent, a full project timeline, comprehensive quality control systems, and references from every big task Victor had performed. When Victor submitted it, he knew it was flawless. He landed the job. More crucially, Victor outbid Thompson & Co. by $200,000 offering a faster completion time. The general contractor then told Victor that Thompson & Co. concept appeared amateurish in comparison to Victor's. "Your documentation was incredible," the general contractor said. Their bid was basically a number on a napkin with a handshake. That was when Victor knew he had Thomas right where he needed him. The downtown headquarters project established Victor's reputation. Not only did Victor accomplish it flawlessly, but he also finished ahead of schedule and under budget. The client was so impressed that he hired Victor for 2 additional locations. The general contractor began referring Victor for additional important jobs. Within 6 months of finishing the job, Summit Building Group Construction Solutions had 15 workers and $8 million in contracted contracts. Meanwhile, Thompson & Co. were floundering. Victor wasn't immediately competing against them. He was pursuing larger, more difficult projects that they couldn't manage anyway. However, Victor's accomplishment began to have an impact on their reputation through comparison. Potential clients would say, "We heard about this new company, Summit Building Group Construction Solutions. They did that amazing headquarters renovation downtown. We're thinking of going with them instead." Contractors who used to subcontract with Thompson & Co. began to choose Victor's company for specialized work. Suppliers began offering Victor better terms because his payment schedule was more consistent and his volume increased faster. The major blow came when Victor began targeting Thompson & Co. core clientele directly. Victor had spent 15 years developing relationships with their customers. He knew exactly what they valued, what bothered them about working for Thompson & Co., and what they would pay more for. Victor created proposals that addressed each of their concerns. Thompson Industries had partnered with Thompson & Co. for 8 years. They completed approximately $300 in building maintenance and repair work each year, a steady source of income for Victor's father. Victor planned a meeting with their facilities manager, whom Victor had worked with dozens of times while at Thompson & Co. "Victor," the facilities manager said softly when Victor went into his office, "I heard you started your own company. How's that going?" "Really well," Victor answered. "Actually, that's why I'm here. I know you've been happy with Thompson & Co., but I wanted to show you what we could do differently." Victor presented a thorough facilities management proposal that was unlike anything Thompson & Co. had ever offered. Rather than simply responding to problems as they arise, Victor proposed a proactive maintenance system that included predictive scheduling, extensive reporting, and guaranteed response times. More importantly, Victor promised to perform it for 15% less than what they were paying Thompson & Co. while delivering superior service. "This is impressive," the facilities manager commented, flipping through Victor's presentation. "Thompson & Co. never offered anything like this level of documentation and planning." "We're not Thompson & Co., Victor corrected him. "We're focused on solving problems, not just throwing labor at them." 2 weeks later, Thompson Industries terminated their contract with Thompson & Co. and signed with Summit Building Group. That was only the beginning. Over the next 8 months, Victor diligently pursued every important Thompson & Co. client. Victor did not compete based just on pricing. He competed on value, offering services that Thompson & Co. were unable or unwilling to deliver. Advanced project management software allowing clients to track progress in real time. Detailed cost reporting that revealed exactly how their money was spent. Guaranteed completion deadlines with penalties if they were late. Quality assurance processes that avoided the costly errors that had plagued some of Thompson & Co. recent projects. One by one, Thompson & Co. largest clients switched to Summit Building Group Construction Solutions. Riverside Manufacturing, which made $500,000 per year, was no longer around. Central Medical Group, which earned $400,000 each year, closed. Brookstone Property Management, $600,000 per year, gone. Each time a client transferred, Victor made sure to send his father, Thomas, a courteous thank you note, assuring his father that he would take excellent care of their mutual associates. The calls from Victor's mother became more frequent. "Your father is worried about the business," Victor's mother would tell Victor. "Some of his oldest clients have left, and he believes there is someone spreading rumors about the company." Victor never informed his father it was him. Victor assumed that his father would figure it out eventually, and he did. The confrontation took place on a Tuesday afternoon in March. Victor was in his workplace, a proper office now, 3,000 square feet with a conference room and capacity for 20 staff. When his receptionist called, "Mr. Victor, there's a Thomas Harrington here to see you. He says he's your father." Victor grinned. "Send him back." Victor's father stepped into his office, appearing as if he had aged 5 years in the 2 years since Victor left Thompson & Co. His face was flushed, his hands shook slightly, and he had that expression he used to have when a task went horribly wrong. "You son of a bitch," his father yelled before he even got through the door. "Nice to see you too, Dad. Please take a seat." Thomas did not sit down. Instead, he stood in front of Victor's desk, staring around Victor's office as if he couldn't believe what he saw. "Thompson Industries, Riverside Manufacturing, Central Medical. You've been stealing my clients." "I haven't stolen anyone," Victor replied without arguing. "I've been offering better service at competitive prices. Last I checked, that's called business." "Business? This is sabotage. You're trying to destroy everything I built." Victor took a seat and studied his father. "I'm not trying to destroy anything, Dad. I'm just showing what real construction management looks like." Thomas' expression changed. "Real construction management. Do you think you know something about construction that I don't?" "I do. I know how to leverage technology to improve efficiency, how to provide full information and transparency to clients, and how to regularly deliver projects on time and within budget. And I assume Derek doesn't know any of that." Victor smiled. "How is Derek doing, by the way? I heard Thompson & Co. lost the Riverside manufacturing contract. That's got to hurt." Thomas clenched his jaw. "We're fine. Are you? Because from what I hear, you've lost about $2 million in annual revenue over the last 8 months, which must be putting some strain on cash flow." The truth was, Victor knew exactly how Thompson & Co. was doing financially. Construction is a small sector in their area, so word spreads. Thomas was struggling to meet payroll, had laid off 6 employees, and was behind on payments to numerous suppliers. "You planned this," Thomas continued, his voice softer now. "This whole thing, you planned to destroy my company." "I plan to build a better company," Victor countered. "If that happens to put pressure on Thompson & Co., well, that's the free victorate at work." Thomas sank into the chair opposite from Victor's desk. For the first time since walking in, Thomas appeared defeated rather than enraged. "Why?" he inquired. "I gave you a job, taught you the business, treated you like family." "Treated me like family?" Victor cracked up. "Dad, you told me I wasn't man enough to run the business. You gave everything to Derek without even considering what I'd contributed. You made it clear that in your eyes, I'd never be anything more than a support guy. I was trying to be realistic about your strengths and weaknesses." "No," Victor answered, standing up and strolling around his desk. "You were playing favorites, just like you always did. Derek was the golden boy who could do no wrong, and I was the disappointing son who didn't measure up to your idea of what a man should be." Victor motioned around his workplace. "Well, this is what your not man enough son built. Summit Building Group Construction Solutions did $12 million in revenue last year. We're on track for $18 million this year. We employ 28 people, and every single one of them makes more money than they would at Thompson & Co." Thomas glanced at Victor as if he was seeing Victor for the first time. "How?" he inquired. "By doing everything you said couldn't be done. By using technology instead of fighting it. By providing clients with transparency instead of asking them to trust us blindly. By treating our employees like professionals instead of treating them like laborers who should be grateful for whatever we give them." Victor reclined in his chair. "You know what the funny thing is, Dad? I learned all of this working for you. Every mistake Thompson & Co. made, every inefficiency, every client complaint, I was paying attention. I was learning what not to do." Thomas was silent for a while. Then Thomas asked, "What do you want?" "I want you to admit you were wrong. I want you to acknowledge that I was man enough to run the family business and that your precious golden boy, Derek, isn't. How is Derek doing as president, by the way? Is he commanding all that respect you were so worried about?" Thomas's lack of response told Victor everything he needed to know. "Let me guess," Victor added. "Half the crew thinks he's an idiot. The other half doesn't respect him because they know he only got the job because he's your son. Suppliers don't trust him to make decisions because he doesn't understand the numbers. Clients are frustrated because he overpromises and underdelivers. It's been an adjustment period," Victor's father, Thomas, said softly. "An adjustment period, Dad? It's been 2 years. If Derek was going to figure it out, he would have by now." Victor opened his laptop and turned it toward Thomas. "Want to see something interesting? This is a financial analysis I had my accountant run, comparing Thompson & Co. performance over the past 2 years versus the 2 years before that. The spreadsheet displayed everything. Revenue fell 35%, Profit margins dropped from 12% to 3%. Client retention rate decreased from 85% to 60%. The average project completion time increased by 20%. These aren't just bad numbers, Dad. They're catastrophic. Derek isn't just failing to grow the business, he's actively destroying it. Thomas gazed at the screen as if it were displaying his death certificate. Meanwhile, Victor said, opening a different spreadsheet, Summit Building Group's numbers look like this. Revenue growth of 400% year over year, profit margins of 18%, client retention rate of 95%, average project completion time 15% faster than industry standard. I'm not just man enough to run a construction business, Dad. I'm better at it than you ever were. That broke Thomas. His father buried his head in his hands and began crying. Victor had never seen his father, Thomas, cry before, even when Thomas' own father died. I'm sorry, Thomas muttered. I was wrong about you. I was wrong about everything. Victor felt a mixture of joy and sadness as he watched Victor's father, Thomas, break down. This was what Victor was looking for: acknowledgement, vindication, and proof that he had been correct all along. But watching his father cry in his workplace didn't feel as fantastic as Victor expected. It's too late for apologies, Dad. The damage has been done. Thomas glanced up at Victor, tears still in his eyes. What can I do? How can I fix this? You can't. Thompson & Co. is finished. Even if you fired Derek tomorrow and begged your old clients to come back, they're not going to trust you again. You had your chance to do things right, and you chose favoritism over competence. Thomas wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. What's going to happen to the company? To Derek? I honestly don't care what happens to Derek. He made his bed when he went along with your plan to push me out. As for the company, I imagine you'll have to sell whatever assets you can and pay off your debts. If you're lucky, you might avoid personal bankruptcy. And then what? I'm 62 years old, Victor, and this is all I know. Victor briefly contemplated hiring his father. Despite being a lousy businessman, his father was nevertheless a decent construction supervisor. But then Victor remembered all the years he had been told he wasn't man enough, all the adulation bestowed on his younger brother Derek, while Victor's accomplishments were ignored, all the hurt and fury that had brought Victor here. I guess you'll figure it out. Like you told me, you're a smart guy. You'll adapt. Mr. Thomas rose up slowly as if everything hurt. I guess I deserve this. You do, Victor replied. But for what it's worth, I didn't do this to hurt you. I did it to prove you wrong. Thomas nodded and proceeded toward the door. He then came to a halt and reversed his direction. For what it's worth, son, I'm proud of what you've built here. I should have seen it sooner. Yeah, Victor responded. You should have. After his father departed, Victor sat in his office for a long time, reflecting on all that had occurred. Victor had gained everything he wanted: confirmation that he was better than his younger brother, Derek, his father's admission that he was wrong, and the satisfaction of watching Thompson & Co. fail. But Victor also felt empty, as if he had won a fight that no longer mattered. That happened 3 months ago. Thompson & Co. filed for bankruptcy last month. His father had to liquidate the company's assets to repay creditors. Derek was now working for one of their competitors, earning approximately half of what he used to, and most likely receiving the respect he deserved. Thomas occasionally called Victor to see if there was any employment available at Summit Building Group. Victor had not hired his father yet, but Victor was thinking about it. Thomas was a good supervisor when he was not attempting to choose favorites, and Summit Building Group was growing quickly enough to require experienced employees. The irony was that Derek contacted Victor last week, the first time they had spoken since Victor quit Thompson & Co. Victor, Derek commented, I want to apologize. I should have stood up for you with Dad. I knew you were better at the business side than me, but I was selfish and let him play favorites. Little late for that, don't you think? Yeah, probably. But I wanted you to know that you were right. I wasn't ready to run that company. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready to run a company. So what are you going to do now? I don't know. Maybe go back to school. Try to learn some of the stuff you tried to teach me. Maybe see if you'd be willing to hire me at Summit Building Group. Victor was chuckling. You want to work for me? I want to learn how to do things right. And you're the only person I know who actually knows how to run a construction business. Victor had not determined what to tell Derek yet. Part of Victor believed it would be satisfying to have his golden boy brother working, for him possibly learning some humility, but part of Victor believed it was best to leave the past behind. Right then, Victor's primary focus was on growing Summit Building Group construction solutions. Victor would be bidding on a $15 million hospital rehabilitation project next month, the kind of job that Thompson and Co. would never have been qualified for, and the type of challenge that made Victor want to get out of bed. Victor's mother still invited Victor to family meals. However, the situation had changed dramatically. Instead of discussing Derek's latest accomplishments, everyone asked Victor about his firm, his expansion plans, and his thoughts on the construction sector. It felt strange for Victor to be the successful son after being the disappointment for so long, but he would take it. The funniest aspect was that Thomas's colleagues and business acquaintances suddenly referred to Victor as the one who truly understood construction, as if they had always known Victor was the smart one, rather than the guy who was not masculine enough to operate a construction company. I suppose the moral of the story was that sometimes you have to burn everything down to prove that you were correct all along. It wasn't the most mature approach, but it certainly was pleasant. Victor's father began working for Victor as a project supervisor. Thomas called Victor aside on the first day of work and said, "I want you to know that you're the boss here. No special treatment because I'm your father. If I screw up, fire me." So far, Thomas had been fantastic. When Thomas was not attempting to pick favorites with his boys, he was actually a good manager. Who knew Derek was still considering if he wanted to work with Summit Building Group? Victor advised Derek that if he was serious, he should start at the bottom as a general laborer. Perhaps Derek could work his way up to crew chief if he proved himself. No shortcuts this time.